Hey guys, I'm Rumor Willis. Come check out my Cowgirl Magazine Mic'd Up session.
So, Trail of Vengeance just came out. What drew you to this role in Trail of Vengeance, and what did you find most compelling about it?
I felt like it was just such a cool character because obviously a lot of the time you don't see a woman leading a Western. You know, she's usually the damsel in distress. And so to be able to have a female driven vengeance story was just intriguing. And I just loved Catherine's discovery of her own power, her own capability. Obviously, especially in those times, it's not like women were running the show or really had any autonomy. And so to watch her go from being this housewife to taking charge of her life and get retribution for what has happened to her husband, I thought was just powerful and sounded fun. I loved it.
How did you prepare for this role? Did you have to do any special like training, whether with your voice or with horse riding or
I had an incredible dialect coach that I only found kind of at the last minute. She was incredible, and I'm pretty decent at accents already, but I really wanted to make it specific because I think it can be very distracting when you're watching a film, and if the accent's not quite right, it just totally takes you out of it. And so we based this kind of accent on Loretta Lynn because
okay.
she's got some interesting just little things that she does. So I thought that was really cool. And I did maybe about a week of horse training and just maybe a day or two with the guns. But, and a lot of these shows get to do 3 months of cowboy camp and things like that. And so I was a bit nervous, but I think it ended up turning out really well. And it was so fun to be able to challenge myself and try out all of these new skills and hopefully put them all together and make it work.
Yeah. Had you ridden a horse before this, or was this your first?
As a kid, I rode a lot. But
Yeah.
maybe 25 years, something crazy. So it was definitely, it's not like, it is like riding a bike, but not at the same time. And obviously, every horse is different, right? As I'm sure a lot of your readers know, they are such intelligent, wonderful, just magical creatures. And I've always loved horses, but I was lucky enough to kind of meet my horse soulmate on this movie. And I think that made just the experience and even my any nervousness that there was just like disappear.
Your character in Trail of Vengeance is tough, fearless. She's honestly just a badass. What was it like to step into that like powerful, like you were saying, she becomes such a powerful woman that she kind of finds herself. What was it like to be on that journey with her?
I was going through a lot in my personal life at the same time that was mirroring that in a certain way. Obviously, thankfully, no one was dying, but I was, going through a breakup and trying to figure out, okay, how do I navigate this new version of my life where I'm a single mom and how do I care for my daughter and do work? And, I think I spent a lot of my 20s and even my teenage years kind of not necessarily knowing my own strength or power or capability. And it was so beautiful because I think in doing the movie and in being on set and finding a way to balance and even in just some of the scenes and being on a horse and shooting guns and doing all of this stuff, I rediscovered that in myself. And I think motherhood does that to you anyway, but it was just kind of a windstorm of a perfect kind of timing of this mirroring between the role and my personal life. And it was a really profound experience for me, I think, on all levels.
What was it like working with the other actors? I mean, you had some really big names in there. What was it like collaborating with them at a closer level like that?
Well, the majority of the time I spent with Eric and James, and who my daughter fondly refers to them as Cowboy Eric and Cowboy James.
That's adorable.
Yeah, they have become like my family. They're such wonderful gentlemen and real cowboys. And we just had this kind of little family on set. And it was so wonderful to be able to have such closeness and kind of an intimacy of friendship, because when you're working long hours and it's hot and you're in all these costumes, you really want to be comfortable with the people, especially when you're doing fight scenes and you're doing all of this stuff. But it was such a delight. And, Benga, I did a lot of scenes with as well, who's so lovely. And um, Jeff Fahey and Graham, it just felt like across the board, we just had such interesting and dynamic personalities in this film. And I feel like it was such an interesting kind of mixing pot of all of us. I hope we get to do more like this in the future.
You have to work with guns a lot in this. Did you have to do any special training for that?
I worked a bit with the armor ahead of time because obviously I wanted to make sure that not only myself but everyone else is safe. And a lot of the weapons we were using were just replicas. Like the Henry rifle that I had was a real weapon.
Oh, really?
And yeah, I wanted to take time, especially with all of the weapons that I was using, to make sure I knew how to use them all, make sure, that you just know the ins and outs, right? Especially you're wearing this on your body or and taking the time to double check before. I made a point, and we really set a standard that anytime any of us were pointing a weapon at each other on set, that everybody got to see it, because, you're doing scenes where it's pointed at your head or pointed at your body. And I just, you can't, those are not things that you can,
Can't take lightly.
rush.
Westerns have such a strong legacy in cinema and in this video world. What was it like to step into this genre?
Dream come true. If for the rest of my life I could only do Westerns, I would be a happy camper. It's just, you get completely transported into a different world, and it's just awesome.
There's a lot of intense action scenes in this movie. How did you go about approaching the intensity, whether it's emotionally, physically? Like, was there any stunts in here that were like really difficult for you to learn or to navigate?
Well, I think the hardest thing is making it look effortless.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Because you don't ever want to seem like you're waiting for a punch, or you don't ever want to give it away. And so we had an incredible stunt coordinator, Dale Gibson, and I love him. He's amazing. And, I told him every day, I was like, how can you make me look more badass? What can we do? And he was so great. He really showed me how to do everything safely and made it so fun, because it's really a dance, right, that you're trying to do. Because while the editors do an incredible job, of making it all look like this, it's really finding, okay, how do I elbow you but not completely whack your face or whatever it is. And I think that was one of the most fun parts, especially with Eric and James, because we were beating the crap out of each other pretty much every scene. So that was cool to just work with both of them and go, oh, maybe we should add this here. Maybe we should, throw in one of these there. And I felt like a little kid.
What about the clothing? I mean, you're in a very like time period piece, old Western. What was it like to do all these big stunts in those clothes and those dresses and skirts and all that?
Thankfully, most of my fight scenes, we only had that one where I'm in the corset and dress, but we were in a tiny little cabin, and it was really challenging that first day because it was, a huge scene to shoot. And but our costume designer Abigail was unbelievable, and some of these pieces are real vintage. Some of them she made, and again, it just transports you to a different world when you're sitting on top of a horse and you've got your hat and your gun belt or your big skirt, and there's just I don't know how to explain it. You get to become this other person.
Is there anything from set that you took home?
Oh yeah. I mean, I bought my hat, so that I found Catherine's hat because I wanted it to be very specific. But the white dress that I wear at the very end of the film, I took home, and I took my horse home.
Did you?
I did. I fell in love with him. His name is Moose, and he is just wonderful. I felt like I became a real cowgirl on set, and I just, we wrapped, and I couldn't stop thinking about him. And so I asked the gal who owned him, and I just said, I think I need to take him home with me. I couldn't imagine. I was thinking about him so much after I left. So yeah, Moose gets to live with me.
Oh, that is so awesome. Are you loving having him?
He's amazing. Right now he's living on a ranch with my co-star James, because I have kind of been bopping around and moving, but I can't wait till I get settled someplace and I can bring him and ride him every day.
Yeah, that will be so exciting. I just have to touch on, because your mom just won a big Academy Award. Academy Award?
Yeah, no, she got a Globe.
Sorry, Globe. After I said that, I was like, wait.
She was nominated for an Oscar.
That's right. Okay. She's played some really iconic trailblazing things as well as your dad. Do you feel like these influences from your parents have kind of helped bring you to where you are, inspired you to keep going this direction?
Absolutely. I think part of the reason on set why I wanted to make sure that I just held myself to a particular standard is because I felt like, I've got this lineage of Moore Willis to uphold. But it doesn't, I think a lot of people might assume that it's like I'm living under the shadow, but it's not. In fact, it's actually more about excitement and pride to kind of continue this legacy on, which just feels really exciting for me.